Hello, this is Zahir Alum. Welcome you all to Frankly Speaking. My guest today is Nisha Biswal, U.S. Assistant Secretary of State. She oversees U.S. foreign policy and relations in Bangladesh along with other South and Central Asian affairs. She was sworn in as Assistant Secretary of State on October 21st, 2013, and during her tenure, the United States has focused on strengthening bilateral and regional relationship to enhance security, stability, and prosperity of South and Central Asia. Under her leadership, the United States has supported economic development and encouraged increased regional connectivity within South and Central Asia as part of the U.S. rebalance to Asia. We welcome Nisha Biswal, Assistant Secretary of State. Welcome on Frankly Speaking Special.
Thank you, Zahir. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you so much, and good to see you back in Dhaka again.
Indeed.
How many times have you have visited Bangladesh?
Oh, I think this is probably about the fourth or fifth time that I've been here over the past 4 or 5 years.
Okay, and you have always termed Bangladesh as a country of strategic interest and importance for the United States. So we'd like to have a reflection on the bilateral ties, current bilateral ties.
Well, sure. Thank you for asking. You know, the relationship between the United States and Bangladesh is one on which we place a great deal of importance. Bangladesh has been a friend and a partner and a collaborator on unleashing the great opportunity and possibility that we see in Asia. As you mentioned in your opening, President Obama has talked about the rebalance to Asia. And it's fundamentally a recognition that as we look towards the prosperity and the security of the United States in the decades to come, that it is increasingly going to be contingent on, dependent on, the prosperity and security of Asia and of the economies and societies of Asia. And Bangladesh is a very important aspect of that. We see the strategic location of Bangladesh sitting right in the midst of South Asia and Southeast Asia as an opportunity to connect these two regions so that on trade, on energy, on economic opportunity, Bangladesh can play a very key role. And also, as we have come to recognize, Bangladesh has been a very important partner in advancing global security. Okay. The contributions that Bangladesh has made to peacekeeping, as well as the sacrifice that Bangladeshi soldiers have made in the pursuit of advancing peace and security around the world, shows that Bangladesh can be a very important partner, not only in terms of the benefits to the Bangladeshi people, the American people, but actually in advancing benefits regionally and globally as well.
In this particular visit, you have already met Prime Minister, you met with the Home Minister, you discussed with the Foreign Ministry officials and some other stakeholders. So what were what are the major concerns or interests when you were taking up this particular visit in Bangladesh?
Sure, thank you. I had been planning to come to Bangladesh in recent weeks, but obviously the tragic and brutal murder of Zulhaz Manan, who was an employee and a colleague of the United States Embassy, has really struck all of us with shock, with sadness, and with outrage that such a promising, brilliant individual who had done so much to contribute towards the relationship between our two countries should be taken in such a manner. Secretary Kerry spoke to the Honorable Prime Minister last week to express our condolences, as well as to express our support to the government of Bangladesh in seeking justice for the perpetrators of that act and in deepening our cooperation and partnership to address terrorism and to curb extremism. So I'm here on behalf of the Secretary to be able to have those kinds of conversations. I had the opportunity to meet with the Honorable Prime Minister, to meet with leaders in government, and to explore ways in which we can strengthen our efforts in this regard.
Secretary Kerry, you mentioned that talk to Prime Minister and called to step up law enforcement and other measures. So what further message you got to extend to the Bangladeshi authority after the incident?
You know, the scourge of terrorism, of extremism is not one that is challenging Bangladesh alone. We have seen and experienced the ravages of terrorism in our own country, and Americans are very familiar with. But we're also seeing that around the world today, there's no country that is immune to the reach of terrorism. And so we are seeking to create partnerships that can help countries learn from each other, to advance best practices and lessons learned, to share tools and technology and resources on how we can create the kind of virtuous network to defeat terrorists, to capture and dismantle terrorist networks, but also how we can work together to advance the kind of shared ideals that our societies, our democracies, are really based upon. And that has been really the focus of my conversations over the last couple of days, as we look to see not only how we can deepen the relationships between our law enforcement agencies, but also how we can think about the broader challenges that terrorism poses and that extremist ideology poses.
So after the barbaric, in your term, brutal murder of Julhas Mannan, how do you assess the situation in Bangladesh, the overall situation? Because there have been several attacks on the bloggers, publishers, religious minorities, and some other. You know,
Bangladesh has been a strong and vibrant democracy with a very resilient population, and have had an opportunity over the years to really come to appreciate the strength of the people and the commitment of the people of Bangladesh, the strength of its civil society, and to really come to appreciate the diversity and the richness of its culture. This is just such a vibrant and beautiful country. And the extremist ideology of a small minority cannot shake the strong pillars and foundations on which Bangladesh is built. But it is a pernicious ideology that also cannot be left ignored. And so I see that there is commitment and resolve in this country to try to tackle that, as there is in my country, and it is on that foundation that we seek to find the right ways to both advance security and preserve the fundamental freedoms that make our democracies as important and strong and vibrant as they are.
So you found good degree of commitment and resolve, but I mean, in terms of capacity to deal with this menacing problem, is that Bangladesh is capable enough to confront this challenge of violent extremism in Bangladesh?
No one country, neither the United States nor any other country, can work in isolation on threats that we are finding, that we are facing in every corner of the earth. And so, yes, Bangladesh, I believe, has the commitment, has the resolve, and certainly that is what I heard from the Honorable Prime Minister. That is what I heard from my conversations with the Home Minister and law enforcement agencies, with the Foreign Minister and such. But a partnership to be able to learn from each other, to be able to share information, to be able to share tools and technologies and build capabilities, and a partnership to be able to learn how we each are grappling with the balance between security and free society. And this is the era in which we live, and this is the challenge that we all face, because we all want to protect and promote the freedoms that make our societies as strong and as vibrant as they are. And yet we have a need in this day and age to be able to advance security and to be able to allow our law enforcement to have the tools and technologies to protect our security. And we are all navigating that space. And so this is an opportunity for us to be able to work together and to learn from each other.
Whenever we see some heinous attacks which have been recently held, but usually we see in Bangladesh that after the incidents, government in Bangladesh are holding responsible the opposition, political opposition. On the same time, on the other hand, some terror outfits or violent extremist group like IS or Ansar Islam, like that, they are also have been claiming responsibility for this incident. So, do you think these are the situations which is very conducive to deal with or tackle this situation? I mean, the trading of rhetorics or allegations and taking these challenges seriously?
Well, I think that there is a commitment on all sides to take the challenge seriously. It is a serious challenge and we must address it seriously. We have seen that there have been claims of responsibility by these networks, the Islamic State network and the Al-Qaeda network. We certainly take all of these claims of responsibility seriously, and we do recognize that as there has been more and more pressure on these global networks, that they have aspired to connect with groups in different countries. The United States is committed to working with our partners around the world to disrupt and dismantle these networks and to prevent them from gaining footholds in other countries and other places. It is our commitment to work with the government of Bangladesh to ensure that Bangladesh itself also does not become a destination for these networks. And to that end, we will continue to work very closely with the government and with the people of Bangladesh. And we know that the government is committed to pursuing each and every attack and incident to uncover who was responsible and to bring to justice. And I know that whether it's in the case of Julhaz Manan or many others who have been sacrificed, have been taken from the Bangladeshi people, that there is a commitment to pursue that. And we're looking to see what we can do to support those efforts and to ensure that we are pursuing the evidence and bringing to justice those who are responsible.
And you see remarkable development, progress in the investigations? And
I think that this is hard work and that the law enforcement agencies, the investigators, are pursuing those leads and are working in that direction. We're trying to see what we can do to support them in those efforts, and we will continue to do that.
Assistant Secretary, we need to take a short break. Dear viewers, we're taking a short break. We'll be back right after the commercial. My guest today is Nisha Biswal, Assistant Secretary of State. Stay with us. Dear viewers, welcome back. You're watching Frankly Speaking Special. My guest today is Nisha Biswal, U.S. Assistant Secretary of State for Southern Central Asian Affairs. Assistant Secretary, some critics in Bangladesh argue that undermining or marginalizing liberal or political voices will probably provide openings for terrorists or violent extremists to expand their network or presence. What are your observations about that?
Our societies were built on the premise that an inclusive, a tolerant, a diverse society is a strong society. Our democracies are founded on those principles. There are extremist ideologies that are deeply threatened by such a diverse and free and democratic society. And they seek to undermine those values, and they seek to reap fear that will silence the voices. But we know that our voices cannot and will not be silenced. And it is with that aspiration in mind that we seek to work together to ensure that Bangladesh, as the United States, continues to be committed to allowing the diversity of its population, irrespective of who we worship, irrespective of what we speak, that our ability to speak freely, to worship freely, to love freely, to be the great free democracies that we are, that inherent value and characteristic continues to grow and strengthen. And it is on those principles that we seek to work together in partnership with our counterparts around the world to ensure that extremist ideologies are not able to undermine those values.
In different countries, I'm not in particular about Bangladesh, in different countries there are injustice, abuses, discrimination, marginalization, limiting political space, forced disappearances, extrajudicial killings. Do you think these also can contribute significantly for rising or emergence of violent extremism or militancy in different areas of the world?
I think that the more that there is accountability to the people, the more that there is transparency in how governance is implemented and how justice is implemented, the more that citizens feel confident in and connected to their governments, the stronger a society will be. We recognize that every country brings its own context, its own history, and that every country's journey is going to be a different one. And that is fine, but there are some universal rights and values around which we stand, and we want to make sure that as we work to advance our collective and individual security, that we are not doing so at the expense of our civil liberties. These are principles that we hold very dear in the United States. We know that these are principles that Bangladeshis hold dear, and these are universal principles. So those are conversations that are very much in the mix in all of our relationships. And it is a conversation we're having within our own country in the United States.
Yes. Assistant Secretary, the United States, we all know that acknowledge the presence of a vibrant civil society, definitely in Bangladesh. Did you discuss issues related to protecting the important work the civil society along with other broader citizens' rights and fundamental rights?
Absolutely. It is part of a conversation that we have with every single country, and it is certainly a very important aspect of our relationship with Bangladesh and our conversations with our counterparts here. That those aspects that have made Bangladesh so strong over the years, and Bangladesh's civil society has contributed so much, not only to the Bangladeshi people, but also really to the world. I mean, if you think about some of the tremendous innovations that have come out of this country that have benefited mankind, it is important that we all work to ensure that Bangladeshi citizens continue to feel safe and have the space to be able to accomplish their true potential.
You have always been talking about, optimistic about a peaceful, inclusive political transition in Bangladesh, and I remember that in 2013 when you took over as Assistant Secretary of State, you also expressed your optimism in Bangladesh. So do you see, you have seen 2014 January 5th election, you have seen violent movement by the opposition in 2015. So and general elections possibly is scheduled to be held in 2019. So do you see any prospect of inclusive political transition in Bangladesh?
You know, for a resilient and robust democratic society and for robust democratic processes to be able to take hold, you have to have both a government that ensures that that political space exists, that political processes are inclusive, but it also requires that political parties respect that political space and that they eschew violence and that they engage in a constructive manner. All sides have a role to play in protecting that democratic space. It is our hope that as we move towards 2019, that in Bangladesh, that those conditions will also come to be. And that is certainly something that we work towards in our discussions and in our engagement with all aspects of Bangladeshi society, the government, political parties, civil society. They all have a role to play in a vibrant and functioning democracy. And we continue to be hopeful that as Bangladesh moves towards 2019, that there will be a rich and robust political dialogue that will move towards inclusive, participatory, democratic processes.
Madam, time to take another short break. Dear viewers, we are taking another short break. We'll be back right after commercial. Stay with us. Frankly Speaking Special. Dear viewers, welcome back. You are watching Frankly Speaking Special. My guest today is Nisha Biswal, U.S. Assistant Secretary of State. Madam, in previous years, you've expressed concern and called for due process and investigations over the reports of some extrajudicial killings in Bangladesh and some violations of human rights. So, did you observe any remarkable progress over those reports of human rights violations or extrajudicial killings?
We have certainly urged that when there are allegations of a violation of due process, that the government be committed to investigating that and to ensuring that there is accountability. And we continue to work towards that end. We have seen that in certain instances that there has been movement in that direction. There is certainly always more to be done to ensure that the trust and the confidence of the people can be maintained. That bond between a government and its people, between law enforcement and the communities that they serve, is a very important bond. And in the United States, we are increasingly moving towards something what we call community policing that allows the law enforcement to really strengthen their relationship with the constituencies and the communities that they serve, so that there can be confidence, so that there can be a invested and trusted relationship. And we have seen that that pays dividends. And certainly one of the things that we have been working on with Bangladesh, with law enforcement here, is to move towards and strengthen community policing, so that there is a relationship there that is built upon trust, upon accountability, and that there is confidence.
Both the countries, United States and Bangladesh, have been holding partnership dialogue, possibly in regular fashion. You have already held the fourth round of partnership dialogue. So, I mean, what are the other critical issues? Like, I mean, you're also emphasizing regularly on regional integration, regional economic integration. So, how do you see the regional, in South Asia, are integrated economically, and what else we need to do in the coming days to reap benefit of regional integration?
Well, thank you. You know, Zahir, the partnership dialogue between the United States and Bangladesh is a very important one, and it looks at the broad parameters of our relationship. We discuss not only the security partnership, but really the economic partnership between our two countries, and the economic opportunities and possibilities. Bangladesh has made great strides in reducing poverty, in advancing its development objectives. What we want to see is a Bangladesh that can advance prosperity, not just reduce poverty. We have seen economic growth in this country consistently at 6.5%, which is great, and it has lifted many millions out of poverty. But for the Bangladeshi people to be able to realize their full potential and to be able to realize the opportunities, we would like to see growth that is 8 and 9%. And for that to happen, to be able to attract the kind of investment that will create that kind of opportunity, that will build the kind of infrastructure that Bangladesh needs, it will also require a Bangladesh that is investing in its workforce, Bangladeshi people are tremendously entrepreneurial, creative, and committed. But we would like to see the kind of conditions that will truly attract the investment that Bangladesh needs to be able to achieve the growth that it can achieve. I believe I saw recently projections by the IMF that by the year 2030, Bangladesh has the potential to be one of the top 30 economies in the world. That is a future that we would all like to see unleashed.
But there are some other challenges like the catastrophic consequences of climate change. We're very vulnerable to the climatic changes. So, and you have very remarkable concern about the safety standard of the RMG sector. So how you are dealing with this matter with Bangladesh?
We have, in fact, spent a great deal of effort in working in partnership with Bangladesh on addressing issues of safety and standards in labor safety and standards in the RMG sector. In fact, I had noted to the foreign minister that one of the truly remarkable things that I have seen is that in Bangladesh we have had this unique coalition of government, of industry, of labor, and of civil society coming together and working with also international partners to try to transform the RMG sector and to create a state-of-the-art market in Bangladesh. There has been a lot of progress made, and I must commend Bangladesh on the progress that has been made. Okay. There's clearly more work to be done. The RMG sector is such a large sector in Bangladesh that it is critically important that we get it right. And the United States has been a strong partner in this, and we will continue to be a strong partner in this because we want to see Bangladesh that becomes the gold standard in the ready-made garment sector. The gold standard which can then be the standard we seek to aspire other countries to emulate. And I think we can get there. I really do.
So you believe that what Bangladesh is envisioning at to become a middle-income country by 2021, so I mean, they're meeting all the key challenges, they'll be able to become a middle-income country?
I think that they are making a lot of progress. Clearly, more needs to be done. More needs to be done in terms of the labor standards and safety and safeguards for labor rights. More needs to be done in terms of upgrading the infrastructure and creating the investment in the human capital of Bangladesh, which is its biggest resource. But as we make advances in these areas, I think you will see that Bangladesh will be able to realize that potential. It's also critically important, as you noted, that as countries grow, that they grow in a manner that is both inclusive of all people. Bangladesh, I think, and the Prime Minister have put a great deal of emphasis on the important role of women in Bangladesh. Women are, not only are they half of the population, they are half of the economic workforce. And that is a critical tool to invest, a resource to invest in. It is also important that growth be done in a way that is sustainable for the environment, for the planet. Bangladeshi people will be the first to feel the effects of climate change as you see changes in the rising sea levels as a low-lying country that is cyclically inundated with rising waters. This will be an increasing importance for Bangladesh. And we have seen the commitment of Bangladesh towards climate change and the desire to participate and partner to mitigate the impact of climate change. And we're committed to working with Bangladesh on this issue as well.
Great. Assistant Secretary Nisha, I know that you are a very passionate advocate for a peaceful, secure, prosperous, safe Bangladesh. So with what conviction you are going back home after visiting this time?
Well, I look forward to briefing the Secretary when I return about the conversations that I have had here, about the commitment that I have seen, and to be able to show and share with him what are some of the areas for further collaboration between the United States and Bangladesh. It is clear to me that there is a great deal of promise and potential here, that the United States can be a partner in helping to realize the promise and the potential, but ultimately it is the commitment and the dedication and the determination of the Bangladeshi people and of their government and leadership to be able to unleash that potential. And I look forward to watching the story of Bangladesh unfold in the months, in the years ahead, because I believe it will be one of the remarkable stories around the world.
And we'll be able to overcome the challenges, overcome the hurdles, barriers, and we'll prosper definitely.
I have seen the determination of the Bangladeshi people. I have met some incredible people, and I know that that determination is going to be the critical factor as we move forward.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. It was a pleasure to see you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, my pleasure. Dear viewers, thank you indeed for watching this show, Frankly Speaking Special. My guest was Nisha Biswal, U.S. Assistant Secretary of State. Thank you for watching, and we invite you to watch our next episode. Until then, to take care and goodbye.